The alarm cut through the quiet hum of the ship like a knife. Captain Jiwoo sat up straight in his chair, his dark eyes focusing on the main screen. The bridge of the Taeguk had been peaceful moments ago, with only the soft beeping of instruments and the distant stars visible through the viewport. Now everything changed. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," said Hyojin from the communication station. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, her face tight with concentration. "It's coming from about 2 hours away at maximum speed." Jiwoo stood and walked to her station. "What kind of signal?" "Standard Galactic Council emergency broadcast," Hyojin replied. She looked up at him, worry clear in her eyes. "It's a Veltharian merchant vessel." "They're under attack!" The captain felt his jaw tighten. The Veltharians were one of the more peaceful species in the galaxy. They traded goods and avoided conflict whenever possible. Their ships had minimal weapons, relying instead on Council protection and designated safe routes through space. "Put it through," Jiwoo ordered. The speakers crackled to life. A high-pitched voice filled the bridge, panic making the words come fast and broken. "This is the merchant vessel Gentle Tide. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. 3 ships. They have damaged our engines. We have civilians aboard. 53 souls. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. They're cutting through our hull, please." Then static. Then nothing. The bridge went silent. Jiwoo looked around at his crew. Pilot Dae-hyun had turned in his seat, his young face hard. Chief Engineer Sung-min had emerged from the lower deck, drawn by the alarm. Dr. Hana stood near the medical bay entrance, her medical bag already in her hand. "How far is the nearest Council peacekeeping force?" Jiwoo asked. Hyojin checked her screen. 3 days, Captain. They're responding to another emergency in the Tertian sector. 3 days, Jiwoo repeated quietly. He knew what 3 days meant. The Veltharians would be dead. Pirates didn't leave witnesses. They took what they wanted and destroyed the rest. "Captain," Hyojin said carefully, "Galactic Command is already responding to our proximity alert. They're telling us not to engage." "Not to engage," Jiwoo said. "It wasn't a question. They say we're not a military vessel. We don't have authorization for rescue operations in this sector. They're very clear about it, sir." Jiwoo walked to the viewport and stared out at the stars. Behind him, he could feel his crew waiting. The Taeguk was an exploration ship, not a warship. They were scientists, engineers, and researchers. They had some weapons, basic shields, and a handful of people with military training. But they were humans. And humans had a reputation. The galaxy called them Deathworlders. Earth, the human homeworld, was classified as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was crushing by galactic standards. The atmosphere was corrosive. The wildlife was aggressive. The weather was violent. The diseases were numerous. By all accounts, humans shouldn't exist. They should have died out long before they developed stone tools, but they didn't die. They thrived. They evolved to be fast, strong, and incredibly hard to kill. They could heal from injuries that would be fatal to most species. They could endure pain that would put others into shock. They could survive on worlds that made other aliens sick just from landing. This made the galaxy afraid of them. "Sir," Sung-min said from behind him, "we have enough firepower to make a difference. Our shields can take a beating, and we're fast." "They told us not to go," Jiwoo said, still looking at the stars. "They always tell us not to go," Dae-hyun added. "They think we're too violent. Too aggressive. Too scary." Jiwoo turned around. "Dr. Hana, if we respond, can you handle Veltharian casualties?" Hana nodded without hesitation. "Their biology is in our database. I can adapt our medical supplies. It won't be perfect, but I can keep them alive." "Sung-min, can this ship handle combat?" The engineer grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. "Captain, this ship was built on Earth. Our safety margins are 3 times higher than Council standards. What they call dangerous structural stress, we call Tuesday. We can handle it." Jiwoo looked at each member of his crew. 23 humans aboard this vessel. 23 people from a world that tried to kill them every single day of their evolution. 23 Deathworlders. Hyojin, open a channel to Galactic Command, he ordered. The communication officer did as she was told. A moment later, a reedy voice filled the bridge. It belonged to Administrator Felnith, a counselor species known for their caution. "Human vessel Taeguk, you are ordered to maintain your current course. Do not approach the distress signal. Peacekeeping forces are en route." "Administrator, with respect, those forces are 3 days away," Jiwoo said calmly. "The Veltharians don't have 3 days. That is unfortunate, but protocol must be followed. Your species is not authorized for military intervention. The Council has been very clear about this. Because you're afraid of us, Jiwoo said. It wasn't an accusation. Just a fact. There was a long pause. Captain Jiwoo, humanity's capabilities are well documented. You are a powerful species, but power without restraint is dangerous. The Council must be careful about where and how humans are deployed. Surely you understand. I understand that 53 civilians are about to die while we have this conversation, Jiwoo replied. His voice was still calm, but there was iron underneath. Captain, I must insist. Administrator, we're experiencing some interference with our communications array, Jiwoo said, nodding at Hyejin. I'm afraid we're going to lose this connection. Captain, do not. Hyejin cut the channel. She looked at Jiwoo. That's going to be in my permanent records, sir. It'll be in all our records, Jiwoo said. He raised his voice. All hands, this is the captain. We have a Veltharian merchant vessel under attack by pirates. Galactic Command has ordered us not to respond. As of this moment, I'm choosing to disobey that order. He paused, letting that sink in. I won't order anyone to come. This is volunteer only. If you want to sit this out, no one will judge you. You have 30 seconds to decide. Jiwoo counted silently in his head. He watched his crew. No one moved. No one spoke. No one left their station. When 30 seconds passed, Sungmin broke the silence. Captain, I believe that's a unanimous vote. Jiwoo felt something warm in his chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. Daehyun set course for the distress signal. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, the pilot said, his hands already moving. Estimated arrival in 1 hour, 57 minutes. Sungmin, I want weapons ready and shields at maximum. Hana, prepare medical bay for mass casualties. Hyejin, keep scanning for those pirate vessels. I want to know what we're flying into. The crew moved with purpose. The ship's engines thrummed louder as they accelerated. Jiwoo returned to his captain's chair and strapped in. Through the viewport, the stars stretched into lines as they entered high-speed travel. Somewhere ahead of them, people were dying. Civilians who had done nothing wrong except be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The galaxy said humans were too dangerous to help. Too violent. Too frightening. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans were monsters compared to the rest of the galaxy. But if being a monster meant saving innocent lives, Jiwoo could live with that. 1 hour, 57 minutes, he said quietly. Let's hope we make it in time. The Taeguk raced through the dark, carrying its crew of Deathworlders toward a fight that no one else would take. The gentle tide looked like a dying animal. Captain Jiwoo could see it on the main screen as they dropped out of high-speed travel. The Veltharian merchant ship was venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Debris floated around it like a cloud. Its running lights flickered weakly. 3 pirate corvettes circled the damaged vessel like sharks. They were Caldronian ships, Jiwoo recognized. The Caldronians were one of the more aggressive species in the galaxy, though even they were peaceful compared to humans. Their ships bristled with weapons, all pointed at the merchant vessel. Scan complete, Hyejin reported. The gentle tide has minimal life support. I'm reading 41 life signs aboard. 12 have flatlined since we picked up the distress call. 12 dead already. Jiwoo felt his hands tighten on the armrests of his chair. What about the pirate ships? Each corvette has a crew of 15. They're armed with plasma cannons and missile pods, standard pirate configuration. Hyejin paused. Captain, they're hailing us. Put it through, the screen changed. A Caldronian face appeared. The alien had rough gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern. Its mouth was full of flat teeth meant for grinding plant matter. This was Pirate Commander Threx, according to the text on the screen. Well, well, Threx said in Galactic Common. His voice was deep and amused. A human ship. How interesting. You're very far from your homeworld, little Deathworlder. This is Captain Jiwoo of the exploration vessel Taeguk, Jiwoo said calmly. You're attacking a civilian merchant vessel. Stand down and withdraw, Threx laughed. It was a barking sound that hurt Jiwoo's ears. You think you can order me around? This is my territory, my prize, my rules. That vessel is protected under Galactic Council law, Jiwoo continued. You're committing piracy. There will be consequences. Consequences? Threx leaned forward. Listen, human. I know your species thinks it's tough. I know you come from a scary world with big gravity and mean animals. But this is space. Your muscles and bones don't matter here. It's about who has the bigger guns. Then it's fortunate that we have plenty of guns. Jiwoo said. Threx's 4 eyes narrowed. Leave now and I'll let you go. Stay and I'll add your ship to my collection. Your choice. I choose option 3, Jiwoo said. You leave and I don't have to hurt you. For a moment, Threx just stared. Then he threw his head back and laughed again. Oh, this is rich. The human thinks he's scary. Fine, let's see how tough you really are. The screen went dark. Immediately, alarms blared across the bridge. All 3 corvettes are powering weapons, Heejin shouted. They're targeting us. Daehyun evasive maneuvers, Jiwoo ordered. Show them what a Deathworlder can do. The young pilot's face split into a fierce grin. His hands moved across the controls with practiced speed. Hold on to something. The Taeguk suddenly dove hard to port. The movement was violent, throwing everyone against their restraints. Jiwoo felt his stomach lurch as the ship pulled what his instrument said was a 7G turn, 7 times Earth's gravity pressing down on them. For humans, it was uncomfortable. For most galactic species, it would have been lethal. Plasma bolts scorched through the space where they had been a second earlier. They're following, Heejin called out. Trying to match our movements. They can't, Daehyun said through gritted teeth. He threw the ship into a spiral, then a sudden upward climb. The G-forces kept coming. Their ships can't handle these forces. Their crews definitely can't, he was right. Through the viewport, Jiwoo could see the pirate ships struggling to follow. Their movements were sluggish, cautious. They couldn't risk the kinds of turns that would pace their crews against the walls. But the Taeguk danced. Sungmin, return fire, Jiwoo ordered. Disable, don't destroy. I want them alive to face trial. Targeting their engines, the engineer responded. From below deck, he controlled the ship's weapons. Firing, the Taeguk's railguns spoke. Solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. They weren't as flashy as plasma or lasers, but they hit harder. The first pirate corvette took 3 rounds to its engine section. Explosions bloomed across its stern. Direct hit. That one's not going anywhere, Sungmin reported. But the other 2 were still firing. A plasma bolt clipped the Taeguk's shields, making the whole ship shudder. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Shields at 70%, Heejin said. They're coordinating their fire. Then let's make them regret that, Jiwoo said. Daehyun, take us in close. Boarding range. The pilot turned to look at him. Sir, that's suicide by council standards. Good thing we're not council, Jiwoo replied. Do it. Daehyun nodded and pushed the ship into a steep dive toward the nearest corvette. Plasma bolts filled the space around them. 1 hit, 2. The shields held, but barely. Shields at 40%, Heejin warned. 30 seconds to boarding range, Daehyun counted down. Jiwoo activated the ship-wide intercom. Boarding team, suit up. Sungmin, you have command of the operation. Rules of engagement, disable and capture. Try not to kill anyone unless they don't give you a choice. Understood, Captain. Sungmin's voice came back. We'll be gentle. The Taeguk slammed to a stop relative to the pirate corvette. Magnetic clamps fired, connecting the 2 ships. The pirates were already scrambling, trying to break free, but it was too late. Boarding tube connected, Heejin reported. Seals are good. Team away, Sungmin confirmed. On the secondary screen, Jiwoo watched through helmet cameras as 4 humans moved through the boarding tube. They wore combat exosuits, powered armor that enhanced their already formidable strength. Each carried weapons designed for close-quarters combat. The pirates had sealed the airlock, but it didn't matter. One of the humans, a woman named Bo-Ra, attached a cutting charge. The explosion was small and controlled, punching through the airlock door like paper. Then the humans were inside. The Caldronians opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds filled the corridor. But the humans were already moving. They didn't run. They flowed like water, like predators, using cover and coordination that came from millions of years of hunting. One pirate turned to run and barely made it 3 steps before Sungmin caught him. The engineer's armored hand grabbed the Caldronian by the shoulder and slammed him against the wall. Not hard enough to kill, but hard enough to knock him unconscious. Contact left, Bo-Ra called out. She moved with speed that shouldn't be possible for someone in heavy armor. A pirate leaned out from a doorway, weapon raised. Bo-Ra's hand snapped out faster than the alien's reflexes could track. She caught his gun, twisted it away, and in the same motion pulled him off balance. He hit the floor hard. 2 down, she reported calmly. The pirates were panicking now. They had heard stories about humans, about Deathworlders, but stories were different from reality. These creatures moved through their ship like ghosts. They shrugged off shots that should have stopped them. They didn't slow down. They didn't stop. They just kept coming. Engineering section secured, Sungmin said. 4 pirates in custody. Moving to bridge. On the Teguk's bridge, Jiwoo watched the 3rd pirate corvette trying to flee. Heejin, disable their engines. Already on it, sir. The communications officer had taken over weapons control. She fired with precision, and the fleeing ship's engines died. That's all 3, Captain. Elapsed time from boarding to securing the corvette? Jiwoo asked. 4 minutes, 32 seconds. Heejin replied, her voice filled with quiet awe. 4.5 minutes. The pirates had probably thought they could hold out for hours. They had fortified positions, superior numbers, and home territory advantage. But they had been fighting humans. Sungmin status? Jiwoo asked. All pirates in custody. No human casualties. I'd say we have a few bruises, but nothing serious. There was a pause. Captain, you should see their faces. They look like they've seen monsters. Jiwoo looked at the gentle tide on the main screen. The Veltharian ship was still there, still dying. But now they had a chance. Maybe we are monsters, Jiwoo said quietly. Heejin, hail the gentle tide, let them know help has arrived. Aye, sir. Channel open. Veltharian vessel Gentle Tide, this is Captain Jiwoo of the Teguk. The pirates have been neutralized. We're coming to get you. Just hold on a little longer. There was no response. Just static and the sound of labored breathing. Then, very quietly, a voice. You're human? Yes, Jiwoo said. We're human. And we're here to help. The breathing on the other end became ragged. It sounded like crying. Everyone says humans are monsters. Jiwoo looked at his crew, at Dae-hyun, who had pulled maneuvers that would have killed most pilots. At Heejin, calm under fire, at Dr. Hana already preparing to save alien lives. Maybe we are, he said softly, but we're your monsters now. Dr. Hana moved through the airlock with her medical team behind her. The moment she stepped onto the Gentle Tide, she knew the situation was bad. The air was thin and cold, filled with the bitter smell of burned electronics and something organic she couldn't identify. Emergency lights cast everything in a sickly red glow. Med team split up, she ordered. Check every compartment. Prioritize the wounded. Behind her, 3 other humans fanned out through the damaged ship. They carried medical bags and portable scanners. Hana headed toward the bridge where the life signs were strongest. The door to the bridge was jammed. She could hear voices on the other side, high and frightened. Without hesitation, Hana grabbed the door and pulled. Her muscles, developed under Earth's crushing gravity, made short work of the bent metal. The door groaned and slid open. 41 pairs of eyes stared at her in absolute terror. The Veltharians were small, about half her height. Their skin was pale blue and covered in fine scales. They had large eyes designed for low light, and delicate limbs that looked like they would break under Earth's gravity. Right now, those large eyes were wide with fear. Please, one of them whispered. It was Captain Velris, Hana guessed from his uniform. Please don't hurt us. Hana felt her heart break a little. She slowly removed her helmet, letting them see her face. I'm Dr. Hana from the Teguk. We're here to help. Can you tell me who's injured? None of them moved. They were pressed against the far wall of the bridge, as far from her as they could get. Hana realized what she must look like to them. Tall, heavily muscled, with forward-facing eyes that marked her as a predator, and teeth. Humans had far too many teeth compared to herbivorous species. Captain Velris, she said gently. I'm a doctor. Please let me help. You're human, Velris said. His voice was shaking. We heard what you did to the pirates. We heard them screaming over the comm. The pirates are alive and in custody, Hana said calmly. She kept her voice soft, the way she would talk to a frightened child. No one was killed. We don't kill unless we have no other choice. But you could have, another Veltharian said. This one wore a navigator's uniform. You could have killed them easily. Yes, Hana admitted. There was no point lying. But we didn't, because that's not who we are. A small sound came from the corner of the bridge. Hana turned her head slowly, trying not to make any sudden movements. There, huddled behind a broken console, was a child. The young Veltharian was bleeding from a cut on her head and her breathing was shallow. May I? Hana asked, pointing at the child. The adults didn't say yes, but they didn't say no either. Hana took that as permission. She moved slowly across the bridge, her boots magnetic to keep her grounded in the low gravity. Every step was deliberate, careful. The child watched her approach with terrified eyes. Up close, Hana could see she was very young, maybe the equivalent of 8 or 9 in human years. The head wound wasn't deep, but she was going into shock. "Hey there," Hana said softly. She knelt down to be less intimidating. "My name is Hana, what's yours?" "Miren," the child whispered. "That's a pretty name." "Miren, I'm going to scan you with this device, okay? It won't hurt. It's just going to tell me what's wrong so I can help." She pulled out her medical scanner and passed it over the child slowly. Fractured rib, collapsed lung, internal bleeding. The injuries would have been minor for a human child. For a Veltharian, they were potentially fatal. "Okay, Miren, I need to give you some medicine. It's going to make you feel better." Hana prepared an injection, adjusting the dosage for Veltharian biology. She had studied their medical data during the trip, memorizing what she could. "Will it hurt?" Miren asked. "Just a little pinch," Hana said. She administered the injection with practiced ease. The child flinched but didn't cry out. "You're very brave." Miren looked up at her with those huge eyes. "Are you going to eat me?" Hana blinked. "What?" No, sweetheart. Humans don't eat people. We eat plants and meat from animals just like lots of species." "But you have predator eyes," Miren said. "And so many teeth." "We do," Hana agreed. "Humans evolved as hunters. But being a hunter doesn't mean being cruel. It means being strong enough to protect those who can't protect themselves." She gently picked up the child, supporting her carefully. Miren weighed almost nothing. Hana could feel how fragile the little body was in her arms. One wrong move, too much pressure, and she could cause serious harm. "I'm taking her to my ship," Hana announced to the other Veltharians. "Our medical bay is better equipped. Anyone else who's injured should come too." Velrus stepped forward. He was still afraid, but determination showed on his face. "Half our crew is wounded. Our medical officer is dead. We have no other choice but to trust you." "You can trust us," Hana said. "I promise." Over the next hour, the human crew worked to evacuate the Veltharians to the Teguk. It was slow work. The aliens were terrified of their rescuers, flinching every time a human came near. But gradually, necessity overcame fear. Sergeant Young Su carried 3 Veltharians at once, each one light as a child in his augmented armor. He was a big man, built like a tank, with a face that had seen too many battles. The Veltharians in his arms looked like they might die of fright. "Easy there," Young Su rumbled in his deep voice. "I've got you. Not going to drop you." One of the Veltharians, an elderly female, looked up at him. "You're very gentle. For a monster." Young Su's scarred face creased in what might have been a smile. "Ma'am, I've got 3 daughters back on Earth, all shorter than you. I know how to be careful with fragile things." In the medical bay of the Teguk, Hana worked alongside her team to treat the wounded. The Veltharians watched in amazement as these humans, these Deathworlders, moved with precision and care. Hands that could crush metal handled delicate instruments with surgical precision. Eyes that could track fast-moving prey focused on tiny blood vessels and damaged organs. One of the Veltharian adults, a male named Kiltar, watched Hana work on Miren. The child was stable now. Her lung reinflated and internal bleeding stopped. Hana's hands moved with absolute confidence, each action careful and controlled. "How?" Kiltar asked. "How can you be so gentle?" "Your strength. We can see it, feel it. You could tear us apart without trying." Hana looked up from her work. "That's exactly why we're so careful. We grow up on Earth learning to control our strength. Human children have to learn not to hug their pets too hard, not to break their toys by accident. We spend our whole lives learning to be gentle in a world that tried to make us violent." "Your world sounds terrible," Kiltar said. "It is," Hana agreed. "But it's home, and it taught us that strength without compassion is worthless." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Jiwoo's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, we have incoming vessels." Multiple signatures. Looks like the pirates called for backup. Hana looked at the Veltharians in her medical bay. 41 souls, all injured, all helpless. She felt a cold anger settle in her chest. "Stay here," she told them. "We've got you in cushioned beds that will protect you from high-G maneuvers. You're going to feel some intense movement, but you'll be safe." "What about you?" Miren asked weakly from her bed. Hana smiled. It probably looked frightening with all those human teeth, but she tried to make it warm. "I'm going to be right here, making sure nothing happens to any of you." The ship suddenly lurched into motion. Through the medical bay windows, Hana could see space beginning to spin as Dae-hyun threw them into evasive maneuvers. The Veltharians cried out in fear, but the cushioned beds held them secure. Hana grabbed a support rail and held on. Her body, made for Earth's gravity, barely noticed the forces that would have injured the Veltharians. She watched the stars wheel outside and thought about what Mirren had asked. "Are you going to eat me?" That's what the galaxy thought of humans. Monsters, predators, dangers to be feared and contained. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans were terrifying compared to the peaceful species that made up most of the Galactic Council. But as she looked at the frightened aliens in her care, Hana knew one thing for certain. If being a monster meant these people got to live, then she would be a monster gladly. Outside, space lit up with weapons fire. The real fight was about to begin. And the humans of the Taguk were ready. Young-Soo appeared in the doorway of the medical bay. His armor was scratched but intact. "Doc, the captain wants all non-essential personnel to secure for combat. That includes you." "These people need me," Hana said. "I know." Young-Soo stepped into the bay and took up a position by the door. "That's why I'm staying too. You keep them alive." "I'll keep you alive," Hana nodded. She turned back to her patients and got to work. Around her, the ship shuddered and shook as battle raged outside. But here in the medical bay, 41 Veltharians were safe, because monsters had decided to protect them. And sometimes that made all the difference. The pirate battle cruiser dropped out of hyperspace like a hammer falling from the sky. Captain Jiwoo watched it materialize on his screen and felt his stomach sink. The ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Taeguk. Its hull was covered in weapons, and behind it came 6 more corvettes. "Captain," Hyejin said quietly, "that's Pirate Lord Scarvesh. He's wanted in 17 systems. Intelligence says he's never lost a battle." "There's a first time for everything," Jiwoo replied, though his mouth was dry. "Sungmin's status on our shields?" "Holding at 60%. We took some hits during the first engagement. I can reroute power from secondary systems, but it won't be enough if that cruiser focuses on us." Jiwoo's mind raced. The Taeguk was fast and tough for an exploration vessel, but it was never meant for this kind of fight. They had 41 Veltharian refugees in their medical bay, 12 captured pirates in the brig, and a crew of 23 humans who had signed up to explore the stars. Not fight wars. The communication screen lit up. Scarvesh appeared. He was Caldronian like Commander Threx, but bigger, scarred, and radiating menace even across light years of space. "Human ship," Scarvesh said. His voice was like grinding stone. "You have something that belongs to me. My crew's my prize, and now apparently my reputation. Your crews are pirates and will face Galactic Council justice," Jiwoo said calmly. "Your prizes are sentient beings under Council protection. And your reputation is about to get a lot worse." Scarvesh's 4 eyes narrowed. "Brave words from a dead man. I'm going to enjoy pulling your ship apart piece by piece." The screen went dark. Immediately, Hyejin shouted, "All 7 ships are powering weapons. They're spreading out to surround us. Daehyun, get us out of here." Jiwoo ordered. "Head for the Kessa asteroid field." "Sir, that field is rated extremely dangerous," the pilot replied even as his hands moved on the controls. "Council ships won't go in there. The asteroids are too dense and move too fast." "Exactly," Jiwoo said. "But we're not a Council ship. We're from Earth. Dangerous is what we do best." The Taeguk leaped forward. Behind them, the pirate fleet followed. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the space they had occupied seconds before. "Daehyun, what kind of G-forces can our passengers handle?" Jiwoo asked. "Dr. Hana has them in crash couches rated for up to 4G. Anything more might hurt them." "And what can this ship handle?" Sungmin's voice came over the comm from engineering. "Captain, this ship was built on Earth. Our structural limits are way beyond Council standards. We can pull 12 G-turns without risking hull damage. The only limit is what our bodies can take. And what can our bodies take? Sir, I once did a 15G combat drop in the service. Hurt like hell, but I survived. Most of the crew are younger and fitter than me. We can handle it." Jiwoo looked at the asteroid field looming ahead. Dense, chaotic, beautiful and deadly. "Then here's what we do. Daehyun, you're going to fly like we're back on Earth dodging orbital debris. No holding back. Sungmin, I need you to manually control shield distribution. Keep our stern protected even if it means weakening other sections. Hyejin, watch those asteroids. If you see any we can use as weapons, guide them into our pursuit." "Sir, that's insane," Hyejin said. "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "It is." The Taeguk plunged into the asteroid field. Immediately proximity alarms screamed. Rocks the size of mountains tumbled through space at incredible speeds. Daehyun's hands blurred across the controls, throwing the ship into turns that would have torn apart most vessels. 6G, 7G, 8. Ji-woo felt the pressure crushing down on his chest. Breathing became hard. His vision started to narrow at the edges. But he stayed conscious. His body, evolved under Earth's gravity, endured. Behind them, the pirates followed. But they couldn't match the Taeguk's maneuvers. One corvette turned too hard trying to follow and its hull buckled. Another clipped an asteroid and spun out of control, venting atmosphere. 2 down, Hyojin gasped through gritted teeth. 5 still pursuing. There's a cluster of large asteroids ahead, Ji-woo said, forcing the words out against the pressure. Fly through them. Make the pirates think there's a path. Daehyun didn't waste breath on a reply. He simply did it. The ship dove between 2 massive rocks with barely meters of clearance on either side. Fragments scraped against their shields. Alarms wailed, then they were through. Ji-woo counted 3 seconds.
Hyojin now!
The communications officer targeted the nearest large asteroid with a missile. The explosion wasn't much, but it didn't need to be. The asteroid was already in an unstable orbit. The blast tipped it over the edge. The massive rock tumbled directly into the path the pirates were following. 3 corvettes tried to dodge. 2 made it, 1 didn't. The asteroid crushed it like an insect. 3 ships left plus the cruiser, Sungmin reported. But Captain, we have a problem. The cruiser isn't following us into the field. Scarvesh is staying outside, blocking our escape. Ji-woo thought fast. They couldn't stay in the asteroid field forever. Eventually they would run out of room to maneuver, or they would make a mistake, or the G-forces would become too much for their Veltharian passengers. How far are we from Council space? He asked. 16 hours at normal speed, Hyojin said. But we can't maintain this pace for 16 hours. We don't need to. Hyojin, send out a distress call. Tell them we have Veltharian refugees and are under attack. Give them our position. Sir, the Council forces are still 3 days away. I know, but there's someone closer. Ji-woo pulled up a star chart. There's a Council listening post 2 hours from here. It's automated, but it has a hyperspace relay. If we can reach it, we can get a message to Admiral Krenvol's fleet. 2 hours, Daehyun said. I can keep us alive for 2 hours. Then let's give Scarvesh something to worry about, Ji-woo said. He opened a channel to the pirate cruiser. Scarvesh, you still there? The pirate lord's face appeared on screen. He looked angry. You've cost me 5 ships, human. When I catch you, your death will take days. Here's the thing, Ji-woo said. You're not going to catch us. We're going to lead you straight to Council forces, and then you're going to spend the rest of your life in a containment cell. Bold of you to assume you'll live that long. Bold of you to chase humans into an asteroid field, Ji-woo replied. We're Deathworlders, remember? Dangerous environments are our home. He cut the connection. Daehyun, get us to that listening post. Maximum speed, whatever route keeps us alive. For 2 hours they flew. Daehyun pushed the ship to its limits and beyond. They dove through gaps that shouldn't exist, surfed along the edge of colliding asteroids, and pulled turns that made even experienced space travelers black out momentarily. The pirates followed, but they were getting desperate. Another corvette took a risk trying to cut them off and paid for it with a collision. That left just 1 corvette and the cruiser. We're clear of the field, Daehyun finally announced. His flight suit was soaked with sweat. Listening post in visual range. Hyojin, send the message, Ji-woo ordered. Sending now. Message away. It should reach the Admiral's fleet in... She paused. Captain, I'm getting a response. The fleet was already en route. They heard our first distress call and have been burning hard to reach us. ETA, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. Ji-woo felt relief flood through him. They just had to survive 4 more minutes. Then Scarvesh opened fire. The cruiser had finally gotten into range and it unleashed everything it had. Missiles, plasma bolts. Kinetic rounds. The barrage was overwhelming. Shields failing, Sungmin shouted. I'm rerouting everything I can, but we can't take much more. Evasive, Ji-woo ordered, but they were too slow. A missile got through, then another. Explosions rocked the Taeguk. The lights flickered. Smoke filled the bridge. Hull breaches on decks 2 and 3, Hyojin reported. Emergency seals are holding. Medical bay? Ji-woo demanded. Intact, Dr. Hana's voice came over the comm. We're okay here. But Captain, whatever you're going to do it fast. Jiwoo looked at the tactical display. The cruiser was closing in for the kill. In 3 minutes, council ships would arrive. They just needed 3 more minutes. Sungmin, give me every ounce of power we have left, Jiwoo said. Everything from life support, from weapons, from coffee makers, everything. Sir, if we do that, we won't have weapons to fight back. We're not going to fight, Jiwoo said. He activated the ship-wide comm. All hands brace for high-G burn. This is going to hurt, he turned to Daehyun. How fast can this ship go if we don't care about the margins? The pilot smiled. It was a mad smile. Let's find out. The Taeguk shot forward like a missile. The acceleration was brutal. 10G, 12, 14. Jiwoo couldn't breathe. His vision went red, then gray. But he stayed conscious through sheer will. Behind them, Scarvesh tried to follow. But his cruiser, built for power not speed, couldn't match it. The gap widened. 1 minute, 2. Then space lit up with new arrivals. Admiral Krenvol's fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 20 council warships, guns charged and ready. Pirate vessel, stand down, came the Admiral's voice over all channels. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender or be destroyed. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the cruiser's weapons powered down. Scarvesh knew when he was beaten. Jiwoo let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Daehyun, bring us about. Let's go home. 2 weeks later, Captain Jiwoo stood in front of the Galactic Council and tried not to feel like he was on trial. The chamber was enormous, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of species. Curved rows of seats rose up on all sides, filled with aliens of every shape and size imaginable. All of them were looking at him and his crew. The humans stood together on a platform in the center of the chamber. 23 people from Earth, looking small and out of place among the gathered powers of the galaxy. Jiwoo could feel the weight of their stares. Some curious, some afraid, some openly hostile. Council Speaker Tolvarin called the session to order. The speaker was a Meridian, tall and thin with skin that shifted colors based on emotion. Right now it was a cautious gray. We are gathered to address the actions of the human vessel Taeguk and its crew, Tolvarin began. His voice was translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. They responded to a distress call despite explicit orders from Galactic Command not to engage. They violated Council protocols regarding military intervention, and in doing so they engaged in combat with pirate forces, resulting in the destruction of multiple vessels and the death of several individuals. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Jiwoo kept his face neutral. Beside him, Dr. Hana stood quietly, her medical uniform pressed and proper. Pilot Daehyun looked nervous. Engineer Sungmin just looked tired. However, Tolvarin continued, they also saved 41 Veltharian civilians from certain death. They captured numerous wanted criminals, including pirate Lord Scarvesh, who has been a threat to galactic peace for over a decade. And they did all this at great risk to themselves. The speaker's skin shifted to a pale blue. Uncertainty, Jiwoo had learned. The question before this council is simple. Should we censure humanity for their violent intervention, or should we commend them for their bravery? I will now open the floor for testimony. A counselor species representative stood immediately. The counselors were known for their caution and love of procedure. I speak against the humans. Yes, they saved lives, but at what cost? They ignored direct orders. They used violence when patience might have worked. They flew through an asteroid field rated as impassable, risking not only their own lives but the lives of the refugees they claimed to protect. Another voice, this one belonging to a Caldronian representative. My species does not often side with humans, but I must point out that the pirates they fought were also Caldronian. Scarvesh has shamed our people for years. If humans had not acted, he would still be free. A Turlian stood next. Turlians were insectoid with multiple arms and compound eyes. I am concerned about setting a precedent. If we approve of this action, what message does that send? That might makes right? That rules can be ignored if you are strong enough? The debate went on for over an hour. Jiwoo listened to aliens argue about his actions, his decisions, his crew. Some praised them. More condemned them. All seemed to agree on one thing. Humans were frightening. Finally, Tolvarin raised a hand for silence. Before we vote, I believe we should hear from those most affected. Captain Velrus of the Gentle Tide, please approach. The Veltharian captain walked slowly to the speaking platform. He looked small and fragile under the chamber's lights. His scales had regained some of their color, but his movements were still careful, like someone recovering from trauma. Council Speaker, honored members, Velrus began. His voice was quiet but steady. 2 weeks ago, my ship was attacked. My crew was dying. We sent out a distress call, knowing help would not arrive in time. We accepted our deaths. He paused, his large eyes sweeping the chamber. Then humans came. And I will be honest with you. When I first saw them, I was more afraid of them than I was of the pirates. Humans are everything the stories say. They are strong. They are fast. They are fierce. They have predator eyes and sharp teeth and bodies built for violence. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. But, Velrus continued, and his voice grew stronger, they are also kind. Dr. Hana treated our wounded with gentleness I have never seen. Sergeant Young-Soo carried my crew members like they were made of glass. Captain Ji-woo risked his ship and his crew to save strangers. They could have left us. They could have taken what they wanted and abandoned us. They could have done 100 terrible things. His voice cracked slightly, but they didn't. They saved us. And when I look at them, yes, I still see their strength. I still see how dangerous they could be, but I also see their choice not to be. Velrus stepped down. The chamber was silent. Then another Veltharian approached. It was Mi-Ren, the child Dr. Hana had treated. She looked healthier now, though she still moved carefully. Can I speak? She asked in a small voice. Tolvaren's skin shifted to a surprised yellow. You wish to address the council? Yes, please. Very well. The floor is yours. Mi-Ren climbed onto the platform. She had to stand on a step to be seen over the podium. My name is Mi-Ren. I'm 8 cycles old. When the pirates attacked, I was scared. I got hurt. I thought I was going to die. She looked directly at Dr. Hana. Then Dr. Hana found me, and she was scary. She's so big and strong and has those eyes. But she knelt down and talked to me like I was important. She was gentle with me, even though I know she could have crushed me without trying. She saved my life. Mi-Ren reached into her pocket and pulled out a small flower. It was made of folded paper, clearly handmade. This is a human tradition called origami. Dr. Hana taught me how to make it while I was getting better. She said humans make beautiful things with the same hands they use to fight. She held up the paper flower. Everyone keeps saying humans are monsters. Maybe they are. But if they are, they're the kind of monsters who make flowers for scared children. The little Veltharian walked over to Hana and presented the flower. Hana knelt down to accept it, her eyes shining with tears. Around the chamber, something shifted. The mood changed in a way Ji-woo couldn't quite name. Tolvaren cleared his throat. Thank you, young one. That was very brave. He looked around the chamber. Does anyone else wish to speak before we vote? A new figure stood. Ambassador Jin-ae, the human diplomatic representative. She was older than the crew of the Taeguk, with gray hair and a face that had seen decades of negotiation. She walked to the speaking platform with calm dignity. Council Speaker, honored members, I will not defend every action my fellow humans took. Perhaps they should have waited for proper authorization. Perhaps there was a better way, but I want you all to understand something about humans. She paused, making eye contact with delegates around the chamber. You call us Deathworlders. You say we come from a planet that should have killed us. You're right. Earth is a Class 12 death world. The gravity crushes. The weather kills. The animals hunt. The diseases spread. For millions of years our world tried to destroy us. Her voice grew passionate. But we didn't just survive. We thrived. And do you know why? Because we learned to work together. We learned to protect the weak. We learned that survival wasn't about being the strongest individual, but about being part of a strong group. Yes, Earth made us tough, but it also made us compassionate. Because we remember when we were the vulnerable ones. Jin-ae gestured to the crew. These 23 humans could have ignored that distress call. It would have been safer, easier. Following orders is always easier, but they didn't. Because somewhere in our evolution, in our history, in our very bones, humans decided that strength without compassion is worthless. She looked directly at the council speaker. So yes, we're Deathworlders. We're scary. We're dangerous. We have capabilities that frighten you, and honestly, they should. But ask yourselves, would you rather have dangerous friends who will risk everything to save you, or safe friends who will follow procedures while you die? The chamber erupted in debate. Voices raised in argument, support, concern. Tolvaren called for order, his skin flashing through a dozen colors. Enough, he said finally. We will vote. The question is simple. Should the actions of the Teguk and its crew be censured or commended? The vote was called. Ji-woo watched the display board as votes registered. Green for commendation, red for censure. The colors flickered and changed as hundreds of representatives made their choice. It was close. Far too close. But when the final count appeared, green outnumbered red by a narrow margin. The council recognizes the actions of the human vessel Teguk as officially commendable, Tolvarin announced. Though we note concerns about procedural violations, we acknowledge that lives were saved through courage and sacrifice. He looked at Ji-woo. Captain, you and your crew are free to go. Consider this both a commendation and a warning. The galaxy is watching humanity. We hope you continue to choose compassion over violence. We'll do our best, Ji-woo replied. As they left the chamber, the Veltharian survivors were waiting outside. Felrus approached with his crew behind him. Captain Ji-woo, he said formally, on behalf of my people, thank you. We owe you our lives. You don't owe us anything, Ji-woo said. We did what anyone should do, but not what anyone would do, Felrus replied. He extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Ji-woo shook it carefully, mindful of the fragile bones. Young Miran ran up and hugged Dr. Hana's leg. The doctor laughed and gently ruffled the child's head.